This is Natasha, and you're listening to Tea Tales and Tomes, where we are living our favorite lives, talking books and drinking hot beverages. So grab your cuppa and let's talk books. Today, we are closing season 1. It is episode 12, and instead of book recommendations or bookish advice, today is all about hearing from you, the listeners. I asked, and you delivered. Kids and parents who lend a regular ear to the show have sent in responses to some prompts that I put out, and it is all kinds of exciting. Wait a second. As I said kids and parents, I just realized that some of my listeners are neither of those, not kids and also not parents, just amazing humans who have been supporting the show in the best way. The best way being listening, downloading, and subscribing and sharing it with people in their lives. So thank you to those awesome people who you're going to hear from soon. Bookish friends, before we continue with the meat of this episode, I just want to share how this journey started. So I am somebody who has always loved books. I think I've already said that 1,000 times. And the thing is that in a conversation with a very close friend, Timothy Wiggle, who's now my podcast editor, I was just going on and on about, should I start an Instagram page? Bookstagram is taking off. This was in 2019, I think. And we were like, yes, of course, Tash, do it, is what Timmy said. Just do it, Tash. Everybody needs a creative outlet. So I did. I created Tea Tales and Tomes Instagram page, and over COVID I started posting, and it was amazing. It was amazing. We were baking, and I'd post books that I was reading and reviews that I was doing. I had bought a mic because at the time I was like, okay, I'm also going to try and record a podcast, and it was going to be just about the books that I was reading. It wasn't going to have any particular angle. And then, guys, during COVID, as I posted, I loved doing it. But it became a little bit overwhelming, that Instagram aesthetic, the rule of thirds, taking photos, making sure I was reading fast enough. The enjoyment of the whole experience kind of just disappeared. And I stopped. Doing it. I never took out the mic. And then it kind of just died down until Kailash, that's my oldest, started school. And a few of my friends started having their own kids. And I could not stop talking about kids' books. I would start a conversation, someone would ask me something, and I would be recommending, and I would feel a huge amount of frustration about not having enough time to share what I've learned. And it was a really steep learning curve for me, and I wanted to share the knowledge. It was also really frustrating because all of the information that I got was from the Western world, very North-centric, and I really wanted to make this information accessible to us in the global South, to make books and kids reading and raising readers accessible where I was. Also, knowing where I started when I was a kid and wanting to make sure that we are able to raise this generation of kids as readers, because readers become leaders, as a very good friend of mine, Rosalind Taurine, says. So guys, that's essentially how it started, me just talking to a mic in a room. One of the things I'm going to post as part of this episode is how I do my recordings. A lot of people have studio setups and fancy rooms. Guys, I literally am sitting on the floor. Cheap mic that I bought of Take-A-Lot sitting in front of me, my laptop plugged in, and I am literally just talking. I do it when my kids are asleep or when Keegan, that's my husband, has taken them for any of their extracurricular activities, usually any free moment I have, and it really does fill my bucket. Just being here, sharing what I have learned about books, sharing good, great, amazing book recommendations with you, and getting the feedback from you has been amazing. So we're 12 episodes in. 12 episodes of amazing bookish content, even though I do say so myself. Do you know that this podcast, having only 12 episodes, has already been downloaded, that's unique downloads, 661 times in 19 different countries and 50 cities around the world. The top 6 countries are South Africa, that's my home country, thank you fellow South Africans, Ireland, where Timmy lives, that's my podcast editor, the US, UK in 4th place, the Netherlands, and super interestingly, France. So thank you, my French listeners. Wow, just Wow. Sorry, bookish friends. In case you're wondering why I'm sounding a little different, I'm completely blocked up. We definitely have a bunch of pollen in the air. We're coming to spring, and I am absolutely congested. And my cat has just jumped onto my computer, so I guess I'm going to have to redo that. Thanks a lot, Kipling. Okay, so let's carry on. The top cities are Durban, yay for my home city and all my amazing followers here. Johannesburg, second place. Dublin in third place. Pretoria, Cape Town, and Ann Arbor, Michigan. How amazing is that? So, whoever is listening from Ann Arbor in Michigan, thank you. You're amazing. And drop me a message. I want to hear from you. Seeing all these stats just fills me with the most amazing feels. Thank you to every single person that supports the show by listening, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love having you as part of this gentle corner of the listening world. So one of the questions I often get is, how much money do I make from this podcast? The answer, very simple answer, is absolutely nothing. So this is usually followed by, why would you do this if you're not making any money? Easy answer, I love books and I believe in the power of readers changing the world. The long answer, parenting is hard. And in my small circle of friends, whenever we talk about books, I always feel like I have so much to say and so little time. So my friends who have been listening to me go on and on about the good versus the bad books, apologies. At least now we can have conversations about other things because here's my creative outlet. I do this going on and on about books and great books. It's not because I know more than anyone, because I genuinely feel like I want to condense the information and make it as easy as possible for all parents to build lasting bonds with their children through stories, through books. Before becoming a parent, I knew nothing about children's literature. I did the deepest dives and I continue to do this, and I want to share what I learned with everyone. In my part of the world, book lists and stuff are very, very North-centric. When my kids were born, I could not easily find any of the books that I found on the best of lists. I could not sample them in bookstores because the books in bookstores that I visited had your typical publisher lists or your bestsellers. And let's face it, bestseller lists are a cyclical nightmare. Books are on bestseller lists for reasons that we will go into in a separate episode, but the reasons are seldom because they are great books. And then when they're on bestseller lists, they get even more sales, so they continue to be on these bestseller lists. Anyways, slowly, very, very slowly, through these deep dives that I mentioned, through careful curation, through constantly reading children's literature, to sifting out the best, I've been able to do exactly that, to sift out the twaddle from the gems. And this podcast is all about disseminating that information to everybody that wants it. The stats around reading, especially reading for pleasure, is alarming. The stats about access to books and good quality books is even more so. This is not information that I want to gatekeep. We are on this journey together, and this podcast is my creative outlet, sure, but it's also my little way to give back and to feel like maybe I can make a change in some small way. So, you know what? Enough about me. Let's listen to some of the voice notes that I received when I put out my request. The first one is from someone who I consider one of my closest friends. Timmy and I have been friends for well over 10, maybe even 15 years. We met at university and we have luckily been able to maintain that friendship even across continents. So Timmy is also my amazing podcast editor. He takes all the waffle that I put out there when I'm sitting in my little room talking to a mic and makes it sound as good as it does. So whatever you're listening to right now is because Timmy has mastered it through all of the various things. I am not at all technologically inclined, and that was my biggest point of friction when I started this podcast. I was like, there's too much to know, too much to learn about, like music and intros and outros and sound effects and making sure that my voice sounds good. And Timmy was like, Tash, you just put out the content. I will figure it out. And Timmy's one of those people who just love learning, constantly, learning and excelling. So anyway, here's what Tim has to say.
Hey, T-Tails and Toms. It's Tim. I've been thoroughly enjoying the pod. I hear that you guys have a really talented and handsome editor. I don't know who that is, but they're clearly, putting everything together really nicely for you guys. But yeah, the pod has been great so far. I've really enjoyed season 1. I can't even say I have a favorite episode, but I think for hopefully in the future at some point, I can't wait to have like a parents episode as well, where parents can talk about what they're reading, not necessarily what they're reading to their kids. I think it would be quite fun to sort of chat about our own books as well. Anyway, love the pod. Can't wait for next season. Bye.
Thanks, Tim. And you know what? That's actually such a great suggestion for season 2. In fact, a little teaser, a little sneak peek. One of the episodes in season 2 is all about how to make time for one's own reading in the midst of reading to our kids. And I think, just like you mentioned, a segment with parents sending in their current reads would be a wonderful addition to that. And if I haven't said it already, thank you again for taking your time to take this show to the next level. And I look forward to continuing on this journey together. Now, bookish friends, this is a podcast all about books, and it's currently in a season in which it's very kid-centric, very parenting-centric. Now, the next 2 voice notes are from listeners who are neither kids nor parents. And like Tim, they have been here from the beginning, when the podcast was merely a nebulous, unformed idea in my mind. So let's listen.
When I was asked which episode of the podcast was my favorite, I found it very difficult to single out just one, as each episode offered tremendous value to the listener. However, I think the one that actually stood out for me was the episode on your kids' comic book obsession in their literary superpower, which was published on the 22nd of April. Now, although the focus was on children and their love of comic books, I found myself relating deeply as an adult. The discussion highlighted how comics and graphic novels aren't just light entertainment, but powerful gateways into storytelling, literacy, and imagination. What stood out most to me was the way Tash reframed comic book obsession as a superpower, an entry into reading that should be celebrated rather than discouraged. Even though I don't have kids of my own, it resonated with my own experiences of discovering stories through different formats and how those early passions continue to shape the way I read and engage with literature today. This episode reminded me that our reading journeys don't have to follow a traditional path, and that joy in storytelling, whether through panels and speech bubbles, graphic illustrations, or classic novels, has lifelong value. Inspired by this podcast, I've also introduced the joy of comic books to my 5-year-old nephew, and I'm hopeful that his love for reading will continue to grow from here. What I appreciated most is that I didn't need to be a mom to take away practical, well-curated ideas for encouraging a child to read. So if, like me, you have nieces or nephews, this podcast offers a fun and meaningful way to get involved in their development. To my friend Tash, I am extremely proud of you and well done on a successful season 1.
Thank you, Savani. Do you know that that's actually also my favorite episode? In fact, both the episodes about comic books were some of the most fun ones that I've done. And I love that it resonated with you so deeply. Having listeners that are not parents or primary caregivers is a truly great way to gauge that the podcast can itself stand by itself. That is, its content is universally appealing. So thank you so much for your kind words and for always listening.
My most favorite Tea Tales and Tomes episode this season undoubtedly had to have been episode 2, The Simple Magic of Goodnight Moon and More. Here's a disclaimer. It has nothing to do with the book Goodnight Moon, and all to do with Natasha taking me on a nostalgic journey in this episode. A journey of remembering moments that shaped my childhood and grew me into the woman I am. In this episode, Natasha speaks about building a lifelong connection with your child through books and how it's so much more than just teaching your child how to read. The value of reading and its positive impact follows when your child associates books with the presence of their primary caregivers. Now, while the podcast emphasizes the value in read aloud time, I had experienced exactly what Natasha speaks about here in a slightly different way. And this is why listening to the first few minutes of this episode had me in tears, while driving home from work, I should mention. And I would later realize got me excited for episodes to follow. My mom gave me this gift, the love of reading, by ensuring weekly visits to the Prince Edward Library, situated in an arcade on what used to be known as Durban's Grey Street, which we traveled to using public transport, and I remember them being the most exciting moments of my childhood. Looking back, what I never understood then that makes me appreciate this all the more now is that my mom was illiterate. She doesn't know how to read or write, yet she ensured that I developed a love for books. She had an amazing relationship with each librarian who would assist her in picking out books appropriate for me. Enid Blyton became a familiar name in our home because of her, and it grew into Sweet Valley High as I grew older. She would even stop at the library when she made trips to town alone just to make sure she gets me a new batch of books. A woman who doesn't know how to read, and each one she brought home was a winner for me. My imagination grew, my love for story became something so different, and even in the absence of books, and without reading aloud to me, she'd sometimes create her own stories and tell them to me at bedtime. This episode made me appreciate what my mom poured into me, without even realizing and without having the gift of being able to read herself. She was able to give me this gift, and I will forever be grateful. I associate books with the presence of my mom. It's the most beautiful love story I've experienced. Another disclaimer, and don't fall off your seat, I don't have kids, neither am I an expectant mom. Yet I fell in love with the podcast because it isn't just about books for kids or books for parents. It's about reconnecting with the joy of imagination and the comfort stories bring. It's revisiting and awakening beautiful memories. This season has been a journey back to the pages of my childhood, reminding me of the magic of discovering new worlds. It made me find such an important part of myself. It prompted me to thank my mom for her sacrifices. It's a reminder that books don't just tell stories, they hold memories, and this podcast has helped me remember mine.
Wow, listeners, listening to this note has actually made me feel a little emotional. Listening to Danelle say it was the most beautiful love story ever, the one between a child and their parent. That's really powerful. And it's a powerful reminder to all of us that sometimes we don't need the pen and ink books. Sometimes it's the moments of shared stories that build those connections. And stories come in all forms, like Danelle just mentioned. A mom who is illiterate but still inculcating that love of books and reading to your child, that's just spectacular. And this makes me think that we should do an entire segment all about libraries and great librarians as well. To listeners like Savani and Danelle, who have been on this journey since day one, I cannot thank you enough. Every podcast needs its champions in the background, and you have all definitely been mine. When I hear these voices on the show today, I feel like that circle is complete. I know I'm getting into mushy territory, but I feel that way. What started as a pipe dream has grown into this wonderful community of bookish friends. And talking about bookish friends, when I sent out the prompts, I kind of just asked people to either tell me what their favorite episode was or if they have used any of the recs. I also wanted to hear from kids, though, about what they were reading, because I love listening to our littlest book dragons talk about their books. So let's listen.
Hello, my name's Adam. I'm 8 years old. The book I'm reading at the moment is Dinosaur Club. The author is Rex Stone. I really enjoyed Dinosaur Club. It had a lot of twists and turns. The story is about two children named Chess and Jamie. One day they went up a rock place, so they entered this cave, and then when they came out of the cave, they found dinosaurs, real dinosaurs.
Wow, Adam, real dinosaurs? Dinosaur Club by Rex Stone. It sounds like a really swashbuckling adventure. Do you know that I've never actually read this book, but based on your recommendation, I think I'm going to give it a try. If you are a regular listener, bookish friends, to this podcast, you will also remember that my littlest book dragon, Jazz, is in his dinosaur era. So, Adam, thank you for this rec because I think that this might be a really good series for Jazz to listen to as well. So, thank you for that. The best way to know if a book is good is actually to hear from awesome readers just like Autumn. Oh, and Autumn, if you are listening to this episode, here's a small recommendation for you. So, did you know that Rex Stone is actually not just one author? It's a fake name or a pseudonym for a team of authors, and they've also created series like Beast Quest, Warrior Cats, and another series called Animal Arc. So, if you like this style of books, there are also tons of other series that you might want to try out. I think you'll really like it.
Hi, my name is Nashe, and I'm 10 years old. My favorite book is Lottie Brooks. It's a whole series, so it's kind of hard for me to choose one. But if I had to, I would probably choose the Majorly Awkward BFF dramas of Lottie Brooks because it has lots of drama, and I love drama, as long as I'm not involved in it. The book I'm reading right now is Spy Dog, and my favorite part of it so far is when Lara, the super intelligent undercover spy dog, tries to catch drug dealers. If I could be any character from a book, I'd be Nikki from I Love Paris because I've always wanted to go to Paris. They say that's where love is always in the air. One book I think every kid should read is Spy Dog because it's so interesting. My favorite place to read is my reading corner because it's so comfy.
Wow, Nashe, you are a book dragon after my own heart. So many great books. So I haven't tried any of the Lottie Brooks books yet, but if you say it's good, I think I'm going to give it a shot. I hope that you get to visit Paris one day and sip your hot drink on the banks of the Seine River with a lovely book in hand. In fact, I'm putting that energy out there, and one of these days we're going to meet in a little Paris bookshop. So I'm also making a note of Spy Dog for the show. So thank you for that. Who doesn't love a romping good adventure featuring MI5 spies, right? Nashe, if you are listening, have you tried the Secret Explorers series by S.J. King? So if you enjoy thrilling adventure, but also characters that are intelligent, like you clearly are, I think you're actually going to really love Secret Explorers. Also, another two series that just popped into my head is Cat Ninja by Matthew Cody and City Spies by James Ponti. So maybe give those a try as well. Next up, we have a very special message from Atalia. Now, Atalia is actually one of my book besties. We have very similar taste in books, and this little girl, 10 years old, is already reading books that are well above her age group. And my favorite part of my interactions with Atalia is she's got such impeccable taste in books that it's not just me recommending books to her. Sometimes it's her recommending books to me, and some of those recommendations you will be seeing in season 2 of Tea Tales and Tomes. So let's hear from this very bright young girl.
Hi, I'm Natalia and I'm 10 years old. My favorite book series is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I love this book because it's super interesting with lots of mysteries to be solved and fun adventures. My favorite character is the main character, Morgan. She's super brave and she loves to go on quests and adventures. I encourage young readers to read this book. Thank you. Bye.
This kid has excellent taste. Nevermore is a great series. If you thought that Harry Potter was good, you need to get your hands on the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. Thank you again, Atalia. You know, I think we can all agree that nothing is more magical than kids talking about their favorite reads. The next two listeners, bookish friends, are people that actually should get all the credit for the existence of Tea Tales and Tomes. My boys, Kai and Jazz. Without them, I would never have taken the journey into the world of children's literature. Without them, my life would be far less colorful, far less awesome.
Hi everybody, my name's Kai and I'm 8 years old. My mom's always mentioning me in the podcast. I'm reading Planet Omar right now and it is Unexpected Super Spy Book 3. I'm also reading The Vanderbeekers by Karina Yarn Glazer. I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. My favorite episodes of Tea Tales and Tomes is Between Stories and Science, where non-fiction becomes art, or episode 10. And now my favorite snack to eat while I'm reading books is soft biscuits. Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside.
Hello listeners, my name is Jazz. I'm 6 years old. My book that I'm currently reading now is Little Kid's First Big Book of Dinosaurs. And I love dinosaurs, so I'm currently reading that book because I love it. But my favorite episode of the podcast is the non-fiction 9th one. And the page that I'm on is page 106, which is Brachiosaurus. And I love the hump. I wonder what the hump on its head was for. And my favorite dinosaur is Iguanodon.
Thank you again to all the little book dragons that shared your reads with us and your thoughts and all of the excitement that you have brought to this season finale of Tea Tales and Tomes. Your voice really matters, and I hope that we can hear a lot more from you in the upcoming seasons of Tea Tales and Tomes. I will be sure to be asking your parents to join me again because I think you'll add a very interesting dimension to this show. And with that, we come to the close of Season 1 of Tea Tales and Tomes, Bookish Friend. What a journey it's been. 12 episodes of stories, tips, reflections, and now your voices joining mine. I couldn't have asked for a better way to end this first season. Thank you again for every download, every share, every listen. This podcast only exists because of you. And don't worry, I'll be back with Season 2. We've got some really exciting things lined up. Author interviews, a few controversial topics to spark discussion, 2 brand new segments, and since it's my absolute favorite time of year, Halloween, there will definitely be some spooky goings on too. So until then, keep reading, keep sharing stories, and don't forget to join us next time for more bookish wonder.